Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review the reboot of Wrong Turn. This land is their land.
Directed by Mike P. Nelson, starring Matthew Modine, Charlotte Vega, Tim DeZarn, Dylan McTee, and Adain Bradley. This movie's about a group of friends traveling to the Appalachian Mountains to do some exploring, go on an adventurous hike, and just enjoy their time in the wilderness. Unfortunately, being a Wrong Turn movie, you know if these people go into the woods, there's gonna be some bad shit happening to them. They were told to stick to the trails, and they did not listen. And now they're being hunted by someone or something. For the purposes of this review, we are going to keep this really non-spoilery. There's a big, massive shift about halfway through the movie, but this is a reboot, so you want to go in with kind of a clean slate, and we don't want to give much away. So what do we like? I love the direction this movie went in. We can't talk too much about it, but I really liked how the story played out. Everything was great. It is definitely a solid start for a continuation for the franchise.
Hands down, if you're looking at it from a cinematic standpoint, this film does a great job with its storytelling because it gives you the feeling of being alone in this wide area and not knowing what is out there. It's shot in such a way that at moments it feels like a car commercial as they're hiking through the woods, but they give you that sense of exploration of uncharted territories that you don't know what you're actually getting into.
But at the same time, the movie does just jump into things. Like, it's a little bit longer at like an hour and 50 minutes, but they dive right in. You learn the characters really quick. You're gonna like most of them, you're gonna hate some of them, and as the movie goes on, you kind of hate some of them a little bit more, but you learn about our characters, they get into the woods very quickly, and they're immediately put in danger, which is excellent. You want to see people running for their lives. That's kind of the charm of this franchise. There's not a lot of charm, that's for sure. It's a bit of a roller coaster, but this definitely sets a different pace, while maintaining some of the things that you do like from the franchise, including traps and stuff. But when it does come to the practical effects, there are some pretty realistic looking gore scenes. I think one of the big first shocks that you see, which I won't show and spoil, is very reminiscent of something straight out of like Hereditary that might stick with some people. It's not over the top splattery like you might be accustomed to, but I think they did a good job mixing tension with good practical effects, but making them somewhat realistic. As out there as it can be at times, it does seem somewhat grounded in reality.
But anyone who goes up there, they don't come back. Alive or dead.
And to bring another point with grounded to reality is the fact that the story is taking place with a father trying to find his missing daughter.
And it's great. Matthew Modine does a great job. I think most of our actors do an excellent job. They play their roles to a T, some better than others, of course, but it usually comes down to like some character traits. But Jen, played by Charlotte Vega, was fantastic. I really liked her character, and she's definitely one of like the stronger female leads that we've probably seen on this entire channel. You look at You're Next and everyone loves Erin from that. Like, Jen is pretty solid, and she's just like a really likable person. Right out the gate, you love her, you want only the best things to happen for her. Well, come on, you know what you're getting into. Maybe it's not the best stuff, but she puts up a good fight throughout the film, and it's enjoyable to watch her character overcome a lot of weird and different obstacles. And without spoiling anything, she definitely turns into Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn.
We've been sleeping in a graveyard.
This is an interesting but I think we both agree Dylan McTee should be casted in any Evil Dead reboots as Ash Williams. That guy's ready to fight some deadites.
And I really like the antagonists in this movie. Obviously, you come into this thinking that you're gonna get like cannibal hillbillies, but this is like a different take, so kind of keep that at the door. But these guys, they're like in ghillie suits, they're better hunters, that's for fucking sure, and they wear animal skulls on their faces. You'd be terrified if you saw this happening, especially like that tree guy. When Groot comes out of nowhere chasing, it's like, oh my god, how are you even gonna see these people? There's no way this group is getting out of this forest alive. Now, what didn't we like?
This isn't necessarily a dislike for me, but it is a dislike worth noting. Some people are gonna come in expecting it to be exactly like the Wrong Turn franchise that you know. And that isn't the case. So I can clearly see all the hate and negative reviews that are gonna come out on this movie because of that.
Yes, but I think unlike some other reboots or remakes like Nightmare on Elm Street, they don't necessarily try to recapture the exact same stuff we've gone through before. That's not the intent. It's almost like a reboot in name only with like some little like similar aspects, but you need to go in with an open mind, and I think you'll enjoy this a lot more. It's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it, but like we can't because it's better to just witness yourself.
It is really hard because these are dislikes that you do want to talk about, but without spoiling anything that happens when the movie gets going, if we say why it's bad, it's gonna ruin your expectations and you're gonna look at the film differently right off the bat.
I will fucking kill you! Back up! Get the fuck back! You can't touch that!
I will say this film does have a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings that can be frustrating at times. We are introduced to so much of the unknown that you don't get a full idea of who is bad and who is good until the very end. And because of that, I found myself not really rooting for anybody and not really hating anybody.
Especially with our characters early on, like you really like them, and they start to change over time. Whether it's their emotions from events that happen, or just them being out in the wilderness, or their interactions with the antagonists themselves, you start to fall out of love with some people. This is the hardest review ever, because it's so new we can't talk about. I wasn't a huge fan of the father figure, but once he himself actually ventures into the woods, which is to be expected, I don't think that's a spoiler at all, like that's the whole purpose of this movie. There's a lot of convenience. He picks up some skills along the way that I don't think he could possibly pick up. Like he learns about traps very quickly into his journey into the forest and then seemingly avoids all of them, and I don't know how.
It's almost like certain characters develop differently and it makes you not appreciate what they've done.
That was his body. His spirits moved on. That's what he believed.
And I also found that with our antagonists and the way they stalked our hikers. It's a different take, but it just seems so out of place for what you then know by the end of the movie. We have this setup where we're seeing the silhouettes of them stalking in the distance, whether it's standing by the car or like looking at the top of the hill. There really is no reason for it. Like that's the part that I think annoys me the most, is they kind of contradict themselves.
I agree. The motivations are a little bit weird, but you'll understand a lot more once you actually watch the movie. Most of our vagueness will really make sense. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. I really enjoyed Wrong Turn. It was way different than I expected going in, and that's a great thing, especially just watching the rest of the franchise. This sets a completely different pace, and I really enjoyed myself. I liked the characters, and I liked the setup of our characters and the tension it drove just from them being them. We have hipsters, we have a gay couple, and we have an interracial couple going into a small city in Virginia where they're clearly not accepted. So it sets up our characters for some uneasy situations, both in the town and in the woods. This is by far the best looking film in the Wrong Turn franchise. The production value is insane, it looks great, and it probably has some of the more tense scenes as well. I don't know, I had a really good time, and I think if you go in with an open mind, you'll enjoy yourself. So I'm gonna give this 4 Backwoods May Queens out of 5.
This film actually surprised me. It was a fresh take on rebooting the franchise, but I think if you go into it not expecting any of the other films, you'll really enjoy yourself. It's beautifully shot, and I liked the cinematography. I enjoyed that this film was fast-paced in nature, that everything just kept going, but they took their time to slow the shots down and let the characters get involved in the environment. And that's what is most important in a Wrong Turn movie, is the environment, because it's people lost in the backwoods trying to survive those that live there and the traps that come with it. And we had no shortage of cool traps here. And when it comes to our antagonists, I did like the new look that they had. I just felt as though their motives were contradicting, and a lot of that has to do with the possibility of them being self-aware, because it kind of created a false perspective of what you were getting into. But still, I enjoyed this movie. When you go into a reboot, it's a reboot for a reason, is to start fresh. I would definitely check this one out. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this film 3.5 first-time explorers out of 5.
You got gear? Can't go up there dressed for no lady's tea.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, links are in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with everything Bloodbath and beyond.